This is the All Access podcast where we talk about sports in Charlotte and North Carolina, South Carolina, from coast to the mountains, because North Carolina literally has it all, but it's all 2 hours away from anywhere you live. It has everything. And we're going to start today's episode with talking about the Appalachian State Mountaineers, possibly the best college basketball team from the state of North Carolina, or either Carolina, in this year's NCAA tournament, coming in at 68 out of 68 teams in the ESPN Power Ranking. Mackie, they're 3-point favorites tonight, man. What do you have to add?
The 3-point favorites?
3-point favorites.
I absolutely love how you phrased everything about this App State team by saying they're the best team from North Carolina, possibly the best team from both Carolinas, and they're team number 68 out of 68 in the NCAA tournament, baby.
That's right.
I love it. 3-point favorites. I mean, I said it before on a couple podcasts ago. I was like, dude, I don't even care what happens in the Sun Belt Championship. The fact that they just got there, like that's a successful season to me. And then they won it, and I'm like, bro, let's go. The App State Mountaineers are going off. And then now they get to the tournament. I thought it was an automatic bid. I didn't know we would be in a play-in game, but we are. Yeah. Dude, if App State just keeps playing with the heart and the hustle that they've been playing with, I mean, they should have no trouble really winning this game if they just play clean App State basketball the way they've been playing it this year. But like with basketball, especially in March, anything can happen. Like we talked about it, all you have to do is just be good tonight. Yeah. The season doesn't matter anymore. This is a brand new season. It's who's going to show up tonight. And that's what it comes down to. Will App State show up? And personally, I haven't heard or seen anything. I know Justin Forrest left the Sun Belt Championship after I feel like he landed awkwardly. I haven't seen or heard anything about him being out, but he's the star point guard. I really hope he's healthy and he can play. But that's going to affect the game if he's not in the lineup tonight. But yeah, App State could do it. App State could do it. You just got to play smart basketball.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about him missing any time. There hasn't been any announcements. But like you said, if they play their game, they play their style, which is just a fun, energetic style. I'm not going to say they're a Big East team. They can't compete in the Big East. But that classic Big East style when Pittsburgh was still in the Big East, and it felt like they had 18 teams in the NCAA tournament every single year, and they were just known as being an athletic group, that seems to be what this team is capable of. They just play good ball at their position by position. They're not afraid to match up with you. They don't do anything exceptionally well, but it's a very well-rounded game, and that's something that Dusty has brought in the mantra of take the stairs, just do that little extra bit to make yourself better than your opponent. I think they absolutely win tonight. I fully expect them to go up against Gonzaga, but Gonzaga is absolutely loaded with talent.
I've said it. I just want App State to just be that 16 seed against the 1 seed.
I just want to
see that game. Let me see it, because anything can happen. We all kind of probably have a hunch about what's going to happen, but like you never know. The first 16 seed to beat a 1 seed just happened like 2 or 3 years ago. And now that's kind of, you know how like it might take so long for something to just happen, and then once it happens, it can kind of just it starts happening more frequently.
Yeah.
Like it's like the Steelers, like 11-0, they lose one game, then boom, they lose like the rest of the games for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that App State can be the 16 seed to beat the 1 seed.
They could.
Like they could be. That's what I'm saying. I just get to that game. I want to see it. It's just happy that they're in the tournament, happy that they're in the playing game, but like. This is. I would love to see them just play Gonzaga and just see if we can just scare Gonzaga for a little bit.
Exactly. I just want it to be competitive because personally, here's the thing: Appalachian State is getting a national game tonight. Everyone who is interested in the NCAA tournament is probably going to be watching a few of the games. They're going to be watching the highlights. They're going to see who wins tonight, and they're going to be able to recognize the name Appalachian State once again.
Oh yeah.
This is your chance on a national stage to let people know that, hey, you're not just a football school. You do have some potential there on the basketball side. They have female or women's sports that are very successful, a very successful wrestling program, a baseball team that not too long ago was in the College World Series and making a run back in like 2012 or 2010, I think it was. So, I mean, it's been a while, but there's other areas that they can succeed. Maybe one day they can be and let me know how you feel. I don't want to go too long on this, but Gonzaga is a big fish in a small pond, right? Like they absolutely run their tournament or their division every single year. And people are like, oh my gosh, Gonzaga has it so easy. They're really not that good. It's because they have an easy conference, easy schedule. But no one wants to be a team that leaves the Big 12 or the Pac-10 to go play in a smaller conference. Do you think there's a chance that Appalachian State could ever get to that level?
Get to the level to where they move to another conference?
No. Get to the level where they're recognized as a national power in NCAA basketball. Or am I getting ahead of myself?
You
can let me know.
Maybe not a national power, but I think like it could definitely be a household name in college basketball. I don't think I'm wrong in saying that Appalachian State is a household name when it comes to college football. You know,
I agree.
That's what, like the Mountaineers have been running their division ever since they came into Division I or the FBS. The Mountaineers are undefeated in bowl games. Like if you follow college football at all, season after season, you recognize the name of Appalachian State.
Yeah.
You do not do that when it comes to the basketball team. And that's what you're saying tonight. Tonight, they are playing on a national scale. A lot of people, I feel like, are going to recognize the school name, but they're not going to recognize a school name with this sport. So immediately, them just being on TV this late in March, playing something that the country outside of Boone, outside of North Carolina, outside of just anyone that knows App State, probably playing a sport that they don't even know that App State probably has.
Yeah.
The fact that they're like they even get this playing game on national TV is big because if they win this playing game, it's the number 1 versus the number 16 seed. I feel like it's one of the more watched games because 1, you want to watch the good teams in the tournament and see how well they're playing, and 2, you're probably going to watch until like they are starting to get blown out, any 16 seed.
Yeah.
Because if a 16 seed is beating a 1 seed in the first round, you're going to be, if you're free and you're a sports fan, a college basketball fan, you're going to want to pull that up and watch it live because you don't want to miss a 16 seed be a 1 seed.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I do agree with you in terms of just this play-in game. I believe is going to get some people looking at this bet. Okay, App State is in the NCAA tournament. If they get to the first round against Gonzaga, they're like more and more people are going to see them. Yes, I do think that App State can be one of these teams in the next 5 years if they continue this trend, if they continue this this culture that they're building in the locker room with Dustin Kearns. If they continue this, they can be one of those smaller basketball schools that could be just popping up in the NCAA tournament, like even if it's the late seeds. But if this trend continues, why would there not be a reason that they don't get to the NCAA tournament at least one other time in the next 5 years? Because I think about it this way. They were 4th in the Sun Belt this year. They beat the number 1 seed in overtime, or the number 3 seed in overtime. Then they beat the number 1 seed of the Western Division of the Sun Belt Conference in the championship. So, and they only have like 1 or 2 recruits from Dustin Kearns.
Yeah.
Adrian Delph, Justin Forrest, and a few other players I can't think of right now. Maybe Donovan Gregory, maybe. I know are Jim Fox's recruits that Dustin Kearns has taken over. So the fact that he's proven that he can win, and like it's not even the players that he brought in. He just came in, coached with the stars and the players that he had, and he turned them into a winning team 2 years after coming into the program. Yeah, I can see them being one of these smaller schools to where everybody's like, yeah, maybe App State just isn't a football school. And they're gonna start thinking that just tonight as they're in the playing game for March Madness.
You're darn right. And that game tips off in about 16 minutes. Again, if you're watching it live on Twitch every Thursday and Sunday night at 8 p.m. Replays out on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever else you get your podcast. You'll be listening to it the next day. So the game's already concluded. Hopefully we don't look like complete dum-dums. And I don't mean that I think App State is ever going to be at Gonzaga level of basketball. But you mentioned it. One of those schools that makes an appearance every single year, like UNI, who recently has been in there a lot. Winthrop, right down the road, in the Carolinas, Wingate, excuse me. They've been in there the past couple of years. UNC Greensboro has been in there the past couple of years with Wes Miller as a coach. Like they've been in there year after year, and that's something that I think App State can absolutely do.
Yeah, and let me add on to this. You brought it up, like other programs around the school, around the university are starting to pick up some traction. Basketball in general, the women's basketball team, they won the WBI tournament my senior year there. The year after I graduated, I believe they lost in either the Sun Belt semifinal in the conference tournament or the championship, probably the semifinal.
Mhm.
And then last year, they got out of at least the first round. To where, I mean, like, both teams, like Angel Elderkin's a great coach, one of those other coaches, to where just being around the team and like just interacting with her on game days, like you could tell that the players and her staff just are behind her. They buy into her. It's more than just her coaching her team. It's just, I mean, it's a family, that team is. Same thing with App State men's basketball. You just see a culture shift in just sports that aren't football. And as an App State graduate, as an App State fan, I love to see it because I love having a great football team. But it's nice seeing everybody else kind of start getting the recognition that when I was there, I'm like, dude, if they just figure some things out, like everybody can just be contenders in a conference. Like I just want to be a contender in the conference year in and year out.
Agreed. And I think that's the key. And that's something to shift gears is that we're hoping to see with this Charlotte Hornets team is being a contender. And that's what they are. That's what a lot of people expected. After you get through about 20 games of the season, people are like, oh, hold on. This team could actually, make a run at the playoffs. They could, squeeze in at the 9 seed, the 8 seed, maybe the 7 seed if they get lucky enough. But they were playing really well going into the break. It kind of stunk to see that break happen at the time. Get one win coming out of it, then you got a second win, and it was like, okay, this team's really putting it together. Lost to the Nuggets last night, not in great fashion. Facing the Lakers tonight. Mackie, what do you make of this situation? What do you make of this road trip, this little stretch of games that they're going on? Because it seems really painful.
No, yeah, it's this is going to be a very testy time for the Charlotte Hornets. We've been enjoying the run they're on. We've been enjoying seeing the play. But in situations like this in the past, the Hornets will go on a 3-game win streak. It's been a while since a 5-game win streak. We were just on a 4-game win streak. But the Hornets will go on like a 3-game win streak, and then they start these road trips. They start these road trips out west, and they're usually against good teams. I mean, the West, everybody knows the NBA. The West is the tougher conference, and yeah. So facing the Nuggets, who have a stacked team, they're definitely a playoff team, losing pretty handily. Then you have the Lakers tonight, defending champions, LeBron James, of course.
They're very good when he turns it on.
Yes, you have the Clippers the game after that, who you have Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. I don't care what, I know Paul George is kind of a meme sometimes on NBA Twitter, but he's still a baller. There's not many, and the Hornets don't really have the star power to go up against multiple star teams, and that's what a lot of the West teams are. Okay, the 3-game road trip out west ends. They come home. They play the Suns. Yes, they beat the Suns already this season, but the Suns are still 4th or 5th in the West. After that, they have the Heat. Jimmy Butler is in the running for MVP, I believe, because as the Heat sit 3rd in the conference right now. And then after that, they go back out west for 3 or 4 more games. It's a very testy time for the Charlotte Hornets against teams that will join them in the playoffs if the Hornets make it. Their next divisions or next games for the next 5 or 6 games are all going to be possible playoff opponents. Some are already locked.
Very good.
Not locked officially, but just in terms of they're going to make it. And so and the Hornets have been playing well, but this is where we got to see it. This is where they're going to have to want it, because you can lose a couple of these games out west. You're going to lose, and these are tough opponents. But it's a huge success if they win at least one of these next 2 games. If they lose these next 2 games, because you have to understand, between 4th and 9th place in the East, a game and a half splits those 5
very close,
5 or 6 teams. So the Hornets are already 0-1 on this trip. If they lose tonight and to the Clippers, and any of those 5 or 6 teams win one game, then boom, the Hornets are right back at the bottom of the East.
Yeah,
and they have tougher opponents after that. They have to find a way to win a few of these games in the stretch. They don't have to be above 500 in the stretch, but they cannot go on a losing streak in this next stretch of games.
And you want to see them continue to have this success because it is a lot of young guys that are very impressionable. Their brains are still soft to all of this. And you hope that they don't just feel that they get through the stretch and for instance, they lose back-to-back games. They lose 4 in a row, whatever it is, which is not out of the question. It wouldn't surprise me if they did. Unfortunately, the Nuggets, Lakers, Clippers back-to-back is a very tough stretch.
Oh, yes.
So, you don't want them to leave with that bad of a taste in their mouth. And they've been very good this far in the season, just freakishly good in clutch time, come from behind, keeping their heart in it, staying in it, and fighting back. Well, when you get beat down like you did by the Nuggets, there was no fighting back in that game. You're down by 27, and it's kind of garbage time you're putting in there. when LeBron wants to turn it on with the Lakers, he can coast through the season because he's going to get to the playoffs and he's going to turn it on and he's going to be the elite athlete that he is.
He is definitely a different athlete and player when it comes to the playoffs. I don't care what anybody says.
Absolutely. His whole mentality and his ability to be a game changer is elevated to freakish standards. But in the regular season, he's gettable a couple games. But I hope that the young players don't get into this mindset that, oh my gosh, we cannot compete with the West. We can't do it. We just lost to the top 7 teams that are in the West.
Yeah.
We can't do it. And that would be so disheartening for this team after such a stellar start to lose a couple games. And like you said, a team that's in 4th could fall all the way to 9th in a matter of 3 games.
Yes.
And I don't want that to affect them.
It's definitely going to be it's confidence is going to play a key here. You bring up a very good point, Bradley.
Yeah.
Confidence is not only in just, man, we can't compete with the West. Like, of course, in the playoffs, you don't face the West until you get to the finals, and that's every team's end goal. But also, just think about the confidence boost if they can just beat one of the LA teams. If they can beat the Suns again. Who the Suns, they're a good team. They're a fun team to watch. They're doing great. They're just an efficient team. That's what Chris Paul does when he goes to a team. They just win. He doesn't put up the flashiest numbers. He just sets his team up to win. He's been doing it his whole career. He's a legend. He deserves a ring. But like against the Heat, they need to know that they can, 1, compete with some of the better teams out west by winning a few of these games. 2, they need to come into these Eastern Conference games that mean a little bit more in the standings and in the records and in the playoff seeding with a confidence that they can beat these Western Conference teams, because the last thing you want is to go on a losing stretch out west and then come back to the East and then you go on a little losing streak or you can't get a win and your confidence is just rattled even more, because because confidence plays a huge role in any sport that you play. And the Hornets, I mean, the season ends end of April? Right, the last game is like April 27th, April 30th, something like that. So, I mean, we are coming up on like a little less than a month and a half left, and especially with how close the standings are in the Eastern Conference, like every game really matters. Yeah. This is one of the most important regular seasons in terms of if you want to be in the playoffs with the NBA. Like every single game is matter. We are a week past the All-Star break, and there are 5 teams in the East that are still a game and a half that separates all of them. Yeah. And then like the 3rd seed is separated by like 2.5 games, and 3, then like 5. Not like much. I mean, and we're past the All-Star break. Like, and I remember friends were saying like, "Hey, get on, like play some Call of Duty." I'm like, "No, let me wait till this Hornets game is done. Then I'll get on. Then I'll get on with the squad." And they're just like, "Dude, it's regular season basketball. It's regular season NBA." I'm like, "Dude, this is important." Like, the Hornets are fun to watch, so I want to watch as many games as I can. But 2, every game matters in the NBA so far. And it's just good. It's been such a unique season. It's been a unique past 2 seasons for the NBA. Yeah. But I'm loving it. But this is a huge, huge, huge stretch for the Hornets, for their confidence, for the playoffs. Like, I don't know if I can understate it. Like, look at the schedule and understand that the Hornets they're going through a little bit of a rough time if they can't find a way to win one of these next 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, and this is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll move on because we do have a lot of Panthers news to get into before we go off and watch this Appalachian State game. The Hornets can leave an impression on a lot of teams right now, and I think that's key for them moving forward because you have people who want to come play for a fun team. They want to come play for a contender and a fun team. They want to play with a guy who can get the ball in their hands like LaMelo, someone who thus far this season has unselfishly distributed the ball to the playmakers and give it to the guys who are going to get the buckets. People are going to want to play for that. When you look at this team, you have a couple guys that might not be here in next year or 2 years with, Biz, Zeller, maybe Miles Bridges, PJ Washington. You got to look at that little issue. Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier, LaMelo. You don't have enough. There's too many mouths to feed, but you're going to want to get some guys in here. Some people are going to want to come play here. Some veterans like Gordon Hayward coming in this year. And looking into the future, they can leave an impression on a lot of teams depending on how this plays out. Are they going to see them lose all their momentum and not be that fun of a team, just kind of be a bottom feeder like they've been recently, flirting back to the Bobcat days? But we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about
we don't talk about that. Or are they going to be a fun team, a team that's building, a team that's going to be excellent going in future seasons, that they can come be a part of this amazing culture and this huge buzz that's happening here in Charlotte? And I really hope that they can put together a string of good games and recruit some of that West Coast talent over to the East, because being a 4-team or a 5-team in the West, you're a 1 seed or a 2 seed on the East, man. You're having so much more fun. So I hope that happens.
And last thing I'll say on the Hornets, you talk about players coming, joining the buzz, the hive in Charlotte.
Yeah.
The Hornets have been in discussion or have been trying to talk to the Pacers about Miles Turner. And we've been talking about the Hornets are missing a post player. I love Cody Zeller, but Miles Turner leads the league in blocks. He's a defensive presence. He's an offensive presence. That would be a good. I will say this, and I follow Bring Back the Buzz on Twitter, and this is what he said. He said, and it was very true. He said, I'm cool with moves. I don't want to make the wrong one to where we give out another contract that can really come back to bite us.
Absolutely.
Like, I know the Hornets won't. I know Cody Zeller isn't a big man that can carry a team on his back the way some of these big men like Joel Embiid or AD can. But Cody Zeller does enough and does more than he needs sometimes to help this team win. And sometimes doing nothing is better than doing the wrong something.
Thing. Yeah,
the wrong thing. And I would love to have Miles Turner. I don't know what a good contract will be. I don't know what a bad contract will be.
Yeah.
But I don't want the Hornets to go after Miles Turner, then it not work out, and then they go after someone else, and it's kind of like, oh, they should have left it with that, Because I feel like the Hornets are on the come up. They are in a position to see themselves succeed. Last thing I want to see is just another contract bog us down.
Yeah, and as we move over to the Panthers talk, a lot of new contracts happening on both sides of the ball for this team. A lot of contracts are not being re-signed, I should say. The Trey Boston, a high-character guy, high-character individual, a fan favorite by many people on Twitter. He's no longer here. Curtis Samuel gets a massive contract with Washington, re-signs with former Marty Herney and Ron Rivera, so there's a little bit of reuniting there, as well as Scott Turner, which kind of disappoints me to see him go to this specific offense, because Turner's a guy that underutilized him in the Carolina. Don't know if he's going to underutilize him once again there in Washington. But a lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball, and I know there's a couple that you're really happy about, you're really pumped about, so I'm going to let you get into that. Talk to the guys. What's going on the defense?
Well, right now, real quick, going to Curtis Samuel.
Bring it back.
I thought that too. I was like, dude, you're going back to the coaches that didn't really use you correctly. But maybe they saw something last year. You know what I mean? Maybe they saw something to where they're like, oh, okay, I didn't know you could do all that. It's like that John Wall meme, to where it's just like, I ain't never seen you act like that before. But with Curtis Samuel, I think he's primarily going to be used as a wide receiver, of course.
Yeah.
I will not be surprised if we see him run out of the backfield. Here's how I'm thinking. The Washington football team, they have J.D. McKissick. McKissick is pretty much there solely to be a pass-catching running back. That was his fantasy value. He got the receptions. He got some receiving touchdowns. And he can get some third-down runs. Antonio Gibson, good young running back for the Washington football team. I thought he had a great season. I believe that was his rookie season. And then Terry McLaurin, another young stud. I love Terry McLaurin. Scary Terry. And then he's going to be lined up on the other side by Curtis Samuel. He can do both out of the backfield and on the outside. And then you have the wizard Taylor Heineke. But then you have Ryan Fitzmagic.
The gunslinger.
I am so excited to see. That's why, because at first I was like, bro, the coaching staff, I want to see Ron succeed. I want to see Washington do well, because I think Ron inherited that team when it was in shambles, and it looks like he's starting to bring them on the come out. I mean, they won the division. The NFC East was horrible, but they won the division, and that's all you need. That's all you need in the NFL. Just got to win your division. Then it's a whole new season in the playoffs.
That's right.
But yeah, you have two young and fast guys, very speedy guys, and you have a quarterback who is literally just has, as a tweet I saw said, just has zero fucks left to give. Sorry, F-bomb. But he just like Ryan Fitzmagic.
It's true though.
He's just gonna let it air. But,
his whole career, he's had nothing to lose, man. He came out of Harvard. No one was expecting him to do anything. He's just going to throw it out there, hope for the best. Someone's out there that's going to catch it. Might not be my guy, but someone's going to catch it.
Exactly. I would be really excited if I'm Washington. But yeah, they pay Curtis handsomely. I'm happy that Curtis was able to get a nice contract. I'm happy he's with a team to where he's going to be one of the main guys. I'm ready to see him show out. And I think Ron Rivera saw something different last year to where he's like, okay, I need to make sure the ball gets to Curtis's hands more. Yeah. Go on the defense. got a pretty nice surprise when we signed Denzel Perryman
Ooh,
from the Los Angeles Chargers.
he's a dog.
Perryman missed all of last year, I believe. I think he opted out, or no, he missed it with a knee injury.
Correct.
He's 28 years old. He's pretty good in terms of like speed, and I liked some of the videos I watched after the Panthers signed him. I liked his ability to just kind of hawk down the ball carrier immediately. Like he does his reads, he finds the ball, and he just goes after the ball. Very Luke Kuechly-esque, which is something that the Panthers need and in the middle. Not saying that he is Luke Kuechly, just saying that he does something similar to where if you watch Luke Kuechly play, a second after the ball is snapped, he is just running a straight line towards the ball carrier. That's what I saw with Perryman. Hassan Reddick, who had like 12 and a half sacks last year, I believe. He's
good.
a baller. And he's going to be on the other side as Brian Burns. Brian Burns is one of those guys that's on the defense for the Panthers that is like off limits for me. Like
100% agreed.
Stays on the Carolina Panthers. Very good pick. He has been an absolute baller. I love having him on the field. He brings the energy. That's what we need.
Can you believe he was a winger for the punt special teams for a while for the Panthers?
Yes, I was very mad when that happened. But we are seeing coaches, just say, "Hey, we're brand new here. Like let's see your full potential." And we saw some last year. That's why it gives me hope for upcoming seasons. But yeah, he had a career high 12.5 sacks last season. He's a little small on the side, but he makes up with it with power. I saw this one video to where he was running after the ball carrier, and an offensive lineman was coming at him to block him, and they both lowered their shoulder to hit him, and they both kind of stopped, and the offensive lineman just like fell backwards, but then Reddick just kept on trucking on. Like, so he has power, even though he's not the biggest guy. Another guy played on the other side of Aaron Donald, Morgan Fox, 1-year deal. I'm excited about him. We talked about it before we went live. You said that you hope that his production last season wasn't solely affected by being on the other side as Aaron Donald, because we understand like 3 or 4 offensive linemen have to block Donald at any given time.
Every single moment.
Of course, that's probably a nice little paradox right there. Of course, it's probably true that Aaron Donald did affect Morgan Fox's because, just being a presence on the field. But I still think Morgan Fox kind of has, he just has that ability to just put pressure on the quarterback. And that's something that the Panthers just need to do. You just need to pressure the quarterback. It's frustrating. I know the Panthers went, 4 games without a sack? Not 4 games, but it was a,
it was a long time. They were not getting pressure
it was an
at all.
Unusually long time. But during that stretch, it was just not that much pressure that the Panthers were getting on the quarterback. And you know what this Morgan Fox signing reminds me of? And you know what he can do for this team?
What can he do?
It reminds me a lot of the Jared Allen signing in 2015.
Okay.
Just a defensive end. I believe kind of like at the position, Jared Allen at the time might have been a bigger name at defensive end than Morgan Fox is.
But that's because he had a longer career as well. Don't get it twisted.
Yes,
he had a longer career, which is why he was a bigger, more household name.
Yes. But I can say signed him on a 1-year deal, and he came in and he just added pressure and got sacks and made plays.
Looked really good.
And for some reason, bro, these signings, they're all team friendly.
Scott Fitterer's doing it.
Yeah, 1-2 year deals. Oh, David Moore, number 83 for the Seattle Seahawks.
I'm so glad you brought him up.
Fan of this signing. 2 years, $4.75 million. I believe that David Moore could have a Curtis-esque role in terms of just being a younger guy on this team, being a slot receiver, but then getting paid something that's not pretty big for a wide receiver, but playing well enough here and doing well in the system for him to get drafted, or not drafted, but signed by another team and get a bigger contract. That's who I think David Moore can be. Last year, 6 touchdown catches, 13 total touchdowns between his 3 seasons with Seattle. One thing that I absolutely love, that's kind of not going to be possible if Teddy Bridgewater is behind center. His ability to track the deep ball was very fun to watch, because he did have Russell Wilson, who is probably one of the best deep ball throwers in terms of just placing it right in his receiver's hands from any part of the field in NFL history. But, I mean, to have a great quarterback, you have to have a great wide receivers catch their balls. And right now, David Moore, watching him be able to just not lose sight and just catch
Really
it in
good.
stride and go.
And
He's speedy.
Yeah, that's an excellent point because David Moore is a huge signing for this. We were talking about before we got on here. Curtis Samuel's current contract with Washington is a bit steep for what Carolina would have had to have been paying a third-string wide receiver. Now you bring in a guy that's literally making 90% less or 80% less than what Curtis Samuel's getting is a much more friendlier deal. And Scott Fitterer, very familiar with him, very familiar with the role that he can do because he was definitely scouting him because he's the guy that drafted him coming out of college. So I love seeing David Moore coming into this offense. Hopefully the quarterback, whoever that is under center, is able to take some of those deep shots. Because like you said, his ability to track the ball down the field is immaculate and definitely going up to get it at its highest point. Another great jump athlete. So yeah, I think that the David Moore one is huge.
Yes.
So yeah,
very good signings, man. Like, and it's weird because they tweeted out that they weren't going to be active in free agency. They are active, and they're all good deals. Like,
they're gonna be in
if I see a contract for like 1 year, $8 million, 2 years, $11 million, like, I'm not going to be mad at that. Yeah. Well, let me see if this team could if they could bring us in or bring us up in the win column. Like, I mean, when I saw David Moore for 2 year, $4.75 million, I was like, what? Now, granted, he had 6 touchdowns last year, career high, but he has never had over 500 yards receiving. But that tells me that, like, he can make those big plays. And also, he was also playing with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So
2 very good wide receivers.
Two very good wide receivers. DJ Moore and Robbie. Like, DJ Moore right now is, like, I think a top 5. You can make an argument for DJ Moore being a top 5 receiver.
His numbers say he should, outside of touchdowns, all of his numbers outside of touchdowns say that he should be a top 5 wide receiver and the best wide receiver out of his rookie class, which includes Calvin Ridley, Juju Smith-Schuster, and names like that. So just want to put that out there. I agree.
Touchdown-wise, the numbers aren't there, but also DJ Moore, like, he is the one that's usually making the catches downfield. He makes contested catches. His route running is great. We see it plenty of times of him getting a drag route and just taking off down the middle of the field and nobody's catching him. But yeah, DJ Moore. He's also the only player, running back or receiver, I believe, maybe just receiver, to have back-to-back 1,200 yards from scrimmage seasons. So, I mean, like you said, the numbers, they speak for themselves. He gets the yards. He might not get into the end zone as much as people would like to see, but he makes plays. And DJ Moore is also like an automatic re-sign for me. I am 100% happy with having DJ Moore as the number 1 receiver. I know his freshman or his rookie season, people weren't really happy with his fumbling, especially that multiple fumble game against the Washington football team. Wasn't called that at the time. But, like, ever since then, that was his main issue with a lot of people. But ever since then, you have not really seen him have an issue with fumbling. I can probably recall 1 or 2 in the last 2 years compared to his, like, 4 or 5. Yeah, he's improved severely. Like, yes, I'm very excited. DJ Moore, and then you have David Moore, and then you have Robbie Anderson. And Christian McCaffrey's back. Don't know what's going to happen with the draft or the rest of free agency. I'm ready, man. It's going to be a fun time.
It started the week out that they signed the 2 offensive linemen, and I thought that's what I was going to be the most excited about. They weren't great. If you look at the PFF, the Pro Football Focus grades of these guys, the offensive linemen, who I can't remember at the moment, the grades didn't come back super high on them, but they're clearly making an effort to improve the offensive line, which I was like, okay,
deals.
Yeah, on very team-friendly deals. I was like, okay, I'm glad to see that they're making the moves that we all agree they need to be making. And then you go out and get some of these names. I am beyond stoked for this defensive line. A young defense signed a bunch of guys and stayed super young. Like, they're very young, very talented, and they're all high motor, high energy guys. It does look like Jeremy Chinn's probably going to be moving back to the safety position, kind of be a floater in between there. We'll have to see. We're not on the coaching staff, so we don't know. But it looks like he's probably going to be moved back in lieu of some of these guys, like you said, Perriman, who's a really good inside linebacker.
But then they got Reddick and they got Perriman, coming in. Yeah. So, like, it's, you know what I'm like. That's what they're preparing themselves for that move if that's what they're going to do. You're You're not taking away one of your ball hawks, one of your best players from the middle of the action, moving them back and then not replacing them. You're putting them in with people who are known to make plays.
Yeah. So, Mackie, do you have any parting words about the Hornets, the Panthers, anything that's happening in sports in the Carolinas? Mine, real quick, I just saw it pop up in the chat. Mel the Hobo, thank you so much for the subscription. Guys, we really do appreciate it. Hashtag fins up. Hashtag keep pounding. We're all about the Panthers here, buddy. But two has been pretty good. But do you have any parting words before we get out of here?
No, just as always, thank you for joining us. I always appreciate doing this. I'm just really excited to go watch App State play in this playing game. I believe probably just started.
Yeah.
Also, repping 90.5 WASU FM, where Bradley and I both worked. Bradley was a sports director, assistant sports director when he was there. I was assistant sports director. We had a story about how I was calling a game for App State men's basketball, and as I was leaving, ran over my laptop with my Elantra. Still works if I need it. But you know, just fun time. Support your college radio stations. If you want to just try something new, try out your college radio station. Just go there, bro. Bradley can attest to this, man. Like, it's just it's an insanely fun time. It's another family up at school.
Yeah.
And you get opportunities you won't get anywhere else. Like I went to the Penn State App State game. I was able to call App State football, App State basketball. It's just like you just get experiences working for college radio that if you were a student not with college radio, you would not be getting that same experience. But yeah, support your college radio station. That's my parting words for tonight.
What? I'm gonna piggyback off of that, man. And I think people should get out of their comfort zones. Do something that makes you uncomfortable, because you never know what you're gonna stumble onto on something that you love.
Yes.
You can't know until you try it. I know you probably hated your dad or your mom saying that growing up. You won't know until you try to eat it. Your broccoli. Get out of that mindset that it's annoying.
And I love broccoli now.
Yes. Brussels sprouts. I hated Brussels sprouts as a kid, but now I love them. They're so good.
Still hate them, but broccoli.
You are wrong. Well, guys, get out of your comfort zone. Do something that you wouldn't normally do. Try something else, and magic could happen. But that's going to do it for this episode of the All Access Podcast, your home for Charlotte sports and sports in the Queen City. Thank you so much for tuning in. Catch us every Thursday and Sunday live on Twitch, and next week we'll be live on YouTube. So make sure you're subscribed over there, youtube.com/allaccess, to catch it there. Mackie, let's go catch this game, brother.
Let's go. See y'all.
Later.